Good afternoon and welcome to the public hearing for the supplemental budget. I'm Representative Lydia Crafts, and we will start with committee introductions.
Good afternoon. Jim White from District 30, which is most of Piscataquis County and two towns in Somerset.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Rick Mason. I represent District 97, which is almost all the people of Lisbon.
Hello, friends. Dan Ankleys, House District 100, central part of Brunswick.
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Steve Bishop from House District 17, Bucksport, Orland, Verona Island, and Penobscot.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Montel, and I represent House District 54, Farmingdale, and Gardner.
Oh, hello, my name is Michael Ray, and I represent House District 40, which includes the island of Islesboro, towns of Lincolnville, Liberty, Morrill, Montville, Searsmont. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 140, which covers Arundel, Dayton, and about half of Lyman.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Senator Tim Nangle. I'm the Senate Chair of the committee.
Senator Nangle, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. I'm Representative Lydia Crafts. I'm here today to present LD 2213, an act making supplemental allocations from the Highway Fund and other provision and from the Highway Fund and other funds for the expenditures of state government and changing certain provisions of the law necessary to the proper operations of state government for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2026 and June 30th, 2027. You'll hear from Commissioner Soschuk, Secretary Bellows, and Commissioner Dowdy, who can answer and review the budget in more depth, as well as members of the public, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Sorry. Seeing no questions. Commissioner Soschuk, would you like to come up?
Hello and good afternoon, Senator Nagel, Representative Crafts, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Mike Soschuk. I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Public Safety. I'm here today to testify in support of LD 2213, the FY26 supplemental budget. This is the final budget proposal for the administration. The proposal delivers financial relief to Maine people, preserves programs, lawmakers, and Maine people support, and addresses some emergent issues, including impacts of new federal legislation. Governor Mills's guiding belief has always been that our strongest asset is the people of Maine, and that's why this budget, like those in the past, seeks to invest in and support them. We look forward to working with the legislature in the coming weeks to enact a balanced budget that supports Maine people and protects the fiscal health of our state. The Department of Public Safety was established to serve the people by providing, coordinating, and leading a responsive and comprehensive public safety system to protect their lives, rights, and properties. This broad mission is accomplished with 699 positions spread across 10 bureaus. The bureaus are Administration, Capitol Police, Consolidated Emergency Communications, Emergency Medical Services, Fire Marshal's Office, Gambling Control, Highway Safety, Maine Criminal Justice Academy, Maine Drug Enforcement Agency, and the Maine State Police. The sum of all Department of Public Safety initiatives is $270,374 in FY26, $1,130,277 in FY27, which is only 0.27% of the entire Highway Fund budget. I'll begin today with the Maine State Police program on page 1. The Maine State Police provide full law enforcement services to areas that do not have organized police departments. Troopers respond to all manners of calls for service, much like any other police department would. Troopers also patrol the rural roads, interstate system, and Main Turnpike, enforcing motor vehicle laws and responding to accidents. Maine State Police detectives investigate all homicides outside of Portland and Bangor, as well as other major crimes. Maine State Police operates a crime lab, computer crime lab, a commercial vehicle unit. They maintain the state's criminal history records and sex offender registry. They also provide many other specialized teams and law enforcement services to the state of Maine. First Initiative transfers one state police detective position and one SBI specialist position from the Gambling Control Board program 100% general fund to the state police program 65% general fund, 35% highway fund, provides funding for all other related costs. Gambling Control Unit and the Maine State Police agree that these two positions are needed more urgently in the Maine State Police program and that transferring them is more appropriate to reflect the job duties now assigned to each position. The second initiative establishes one state police lieutenant, a one state police sergeant position, and provides funding for related all other costs. This initiative is no longer needed and may be removed by the committee. The next initiative establishes 4 state police detective positions and provides funding for related all other costs. These 4 positions will be assigned to the Executive Protection Unit. Fourth initiative for this program provides funding for the approved reorganization range change of 5 senior laboratory scientist positions from range 29 to range 31 and all other related costs. There's a longstanding process in place to evaluate proper classification of positions and determine through a functional job analysis whether a position meets the requirements for reclassification, including pay adjustment. The state's collective bargaining unit agreements include negotiated language related to this process. Reclasses may be employee or management initiated. Approved employee initiated actions include a retroactive pay component back to the date the request was signed. All approved reclasses are included in our budget requests. Only approved reclasses are included in our budget requests. These initiatives are to request funding for the approved action, which is required before the reclassification can be processed and paid. Next initiative found on page 2 provides funding for an increase in rent for the Northern Field Troop Barracks. Northern Field Troop has leased their current space in Ellsworth for over 20 years. The building needs substantial work and the landlord has decided to not continue the lease. The department has been working with the Bureau of General Services on finding a new space, and they have determined that a space that meets current operational needs will require this additional funding. The sixth initiative establishes one state police corporal position, one state police lieutenant position, and 3 state police specialist positions, and providing funding for all other related costs for additional staffing related to the Extreme Risk Protection Act. This initiative also provides funding for 5 Ford Police Interceptor utility hybrid vehicles for these 5 positions. These positions are necessary to fulfill the obligations of an act to protect Maine communities by enacting the Extreme Risk Protection Order Act, which went into effect on February 22nd, 2026. Seventh initiative establishes one forensic chemist 2 position and one DNA forensic analyst position, provides funding for related all other costs, a mobile office unit, and a contracted trainer for the tracking system. This initiative establishes the positions necessary for the Department of Public Safety to establish, operate, and maintain a tracking system for all completed forensic examination kits, which includes an inventory of all kits, as well as an annual report on the new tracking system in accordance with the Act to establish a statewide sexual assault forensic examination kit tracking system and conduct an inventory of existing forensic examination kits in the possession of law enforcement. Final initiative transfers one state police lieutenant position from the traffic safety program, 100% highway fund, to the state police program, 65% general fund, 35% highway fund, and provides funding for related all other costs. This position is being assigned to supervise troopers assigned to task force positions with MDEA, FBI Safe Streets, and the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. Next program, traffic safety, found on page 4, provides accident reconstruction and training services and maintains the statewide crash reporting system, including the air wing operations. The State Police Air Wing is often utilized for traffic enforcement along the interstate from Kittery to Holton, and aerial photos of traffic crash and crime scenes, as well as for conducting searches for lost or wanted persons. The first initiative in this program provides funding for the approved reorganization of one state police pilot position to a state police lieutenant. This is a management initiative reclassification and has been approved through the process described earlier in my testimony. Second and finally, the second and final initiative transfers one state police lieutenant position from the traffic safety program, 100% highway fund to the state police program, 65% general fund and 35% highway fund, provides funding for related all other costs. This is the other half of the transfer that I discussed earlier in my testimony. I have a language paragraph, part F. This language part can be found on pages 23 and 24. This part authorizes the Department of Public Safety to transfer personal services to the all other and capital expenditures line categories in an amount of up to $320,614 in fiscal year 25-26, $35,784 in fiscal year 26-27. This transfer will fund a contract for firearms examiner services, consoles at 3 emergency communication centers, and a heat pump, a generator for the Pittsfield Barracks, and an update to the security system at the Bangor Barracks. This concludes my testimony. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does anybody have any questions for the Commissioner? Representative Kraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just note, Commissioner, in section F, it looks like in our document, we have 304,164. Is that just a discrepancy? Is the real number 320,614?
We have it at 320,614.
Okay, so if committee
Yes, ma'am.
members just want to note that, it's different. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's page 23 under part F.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, really quickly going back to the barracks. Do we have an idea of percentage-wise what the rent increase is?
So percentage-wise, we have the current rent at
Okay.
35,000 annual at about 1150 a square foot. BGS came in and would say the market rate is 105,000 annual for about $35 per square foot is what we would expect to pay for that same kind of facility.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Representative Bishop?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your attention to the Northern Field Troop Barracks. That's the division that affects my district, and we're hoping that we may even be a host for that situation if we can find the right spot. So we're happy about this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There's no question? Yep. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions? So which initiative here is for the rape kit tracking? Is
So
that,
that's to implement LD 1816, and on the testimony, that would be initiative number 7, page 4 of the testimony.
okay. It's reference 9 for us? Okay. Okay. And then there was another initiative. So we ran into this the other day, transfers one state police lieutenant. It's reference 10 in our book. Transfers one state police lieutenant position from the traffic safety program, 100% highway fund to the state police program, 65% general fund, 35% highway fund. We can certainly use the money. But the fund provides funding for all related costs. Why wouldn't there be a negative number to the highway fund?
So the testimony here is, I will tell you the way this rolls out based on the initiatives that you have in front of you. Ideally, right, it would say traffic safety is 100% highway fund. A pilot position was reclassed to a lieutenant, and that lieutenant was then moved from traffic safety and moved over to MSP. So we would be saving 65% really from the highway fund. What exactly that number amount is. The Madam Chair did an amazing job of explaining this last time we were in here on the general fund last week.
Go ahead.
So to clarify, the $75,000 is the 35% of the highway fund cost of that position.
Correct.
So we are, if compared
Okay.
to the previous budget, you would see that that number is significantly less than what that number for that same position or for
Okay.
that traffic safety.
That's
Yeah,
position
it's
would have been.
100% down to 35%. So you're going to save that off the top.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good to see everybody.
Is there anyone who would like to speak?
Yeah, Secretary of State, we'll present all the first.
Okay. So, Madam Secretary of State.
Good afternoon, Senator Nangle, Representative Crafts, distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Shenna Bellows, and I am here. I'm the Secretary of State here to provide testimony in support of those items presented in the supplemental budget for the Department of Secretary of State. As you know, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles serves the public with accessible, timely, and secure motor vehicle services to enhance quality of life and opportunity for people in Maine while supporting roadway safety. Our responsibilities have grown over the years. We're responsible for licensing and monitoring drivers, renewing licenses and IDs, registering and titling vehicles, licensing driver education schools and instructors, licensing vehicle and trailer dealers, and managing all motor carrier programs. Served in a main office in Augusta, 13 branch office locations, 23 CDL testing sites, and 16 non-commercial examination locations throughout the state, as well as online services. Additionally, 516 municipalities and 12 non-governmental agents offer registration services to residents and non-residents of the state. We have 9 initiatives. They start on page 6, section A2 of the budget document. 8 of those initiatives are approved position reclassifications approved by the Bureau of Human Resources within DAFs. So I'll just go through those 8. Again, those are all reclassifications. The first initiative, reference number 16, provides funding for the approved reclassification of 3 accounting associate 1 positions to office associate 2 positions to account for additional responsibilities. The personal services request is $16,241 in fiscal year 26-27. This management initiated reclassification was approved on October 10th, 2024. Initiative 2, reference 17, provides funding for the approved reclassification of 1 office associate 2 to an office associate 2 supervisor position. The personal services request is $5,392 in fiscal year 27. This management initiated reclassification was approved on December 5th, 2024. The third initiative, reference number 18, provides funding for the approved reclassification of 1 senior technical support specialist position to a system section manager position. The personal services request is $11,942 in fiscal year 27. This management initiated reclassification was approved on March 10th, 2025. The fourth initiative, reference number 19, provides funding for the approved reclassification of 1 program audit manager position from a range 27 to a range 28. The personal services request is $4,333. This management initiated reclass was approved on June 30th, 2025. The fifth initiative, reference number 20, is approved reclassification of 8 office associate 1 positions to office associate 2 positions to better reflect the additional duties and responsibilities of the positions. The personal services request is $44,072 in fiscal year 27. This management initiated reclassification was approved on September 23rd, 2025. The sixth initiative, reference number 21, provides funding for the approved reclassification of 1 accounting associate 1 position to a business manager 1 position due to additional responsibilities. The personal services request is $13,580 in fiscal year 27. This management initiated reclass was approved on October 24th, 2025. The seventh initiative is an approved reclass of 1 office associate 1 position to a management analyst 2 position to account for additional duties and responsibilities. The personal services request is $14,441 in fiscal year 27. This management initiated reclass was approved on December 11th, 2025. The eighth initiative, reference number 23, is approved reclassification of 1 clerk 4 position to an office specialist supervisor position. The personal services request is $7,810 in fiscal year 27. It was approved on December 12th, 2025. And the ninth initiative is reference number 24. It's the funding for the approved reclassification of one public service coordinator, one position to a public service manager, two position. And that request is 10,680 in fiscal year 27. That was approved on December 12th of 2025. So those are the initiatives in the budget. We had also requested additional positions for the branches because I know a number of you have received complaints about wait times in the branches. And in doing an analysis, the demographic changes in Maine, we simply have more customers than we did a decade ago. And we haven't increased the number of employees in the branches. Those were not included in the budget. I just wanted to put it out there that we had requested them. So there is no other additional discretionary piece of the budget. The only piece that is additional is something that's very familiar for you, and that is carryover language for modernization. That's in Part C, and it looks identical to carryover language from last year. And it reads, Section C1 carrying provision. Notwithstanding any provision of law to the contrary, the state comptroller shall carry forward up to 2.5 million in unexpended balances in the personal services and all other categories in the Department of Secretary of State Administration Motor Vehicles Program after all financial commitments for obligations and budgetary adjustments have been made at the end of fiscal year 26 to the next fiscal year to the all other, to be used to continue the Bureau of Motor Vehicles modernization of systems and services provided to the public. These funds do not lapse and are intended to carry until expended. So just to reprise, we are in the middle of our self-funded modernization plan. You may remember about a year ago, we successfully launched state to state, linking our license system to every other license system in the country. This was a tremendous modernization effort that we did entirely internally with our programmers that are funded through carryover. In June, we're scheduled to go live with a new license system. So it will be a more cyber secure, more efficient driver license system for all of our branches. Then we are scheduled next year to go forward with improved electronic lien entitling for dealers. And then our new registration system, which actually will be part of, instead of having different systems for the customer service reps, it'll be part of the same license system. So we've been doing modular modernization step by step with improvements periodically with this group of very experienced programmers now, funded entirely through self-funding through carryover. And that's what this would be to continue. So that concludes my testimony. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I've had a cold. I will just say there is a carryover provision here that was a mistake. Somehow, the Bureau of Budget, we submitted language for carryover to the general fund for elections, and that made it into the highway fund budget. We are not proposing that you use any highway funding for elections. That would be unconstitutional. So we ask that you strike that language, but not the other carryover.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Secretary Bellows? Representative Kraft?
So I think for thank you, Mr. Chair. That's Part D, the language for the corporation's election.
Yes. So you should strike Part D on page 22.
Thank you. Could you just give us, if to the best of your ability, like an idea timeline wise? I understand like the programming and all of this work that you've been doing is out of my scope of practice. But what do you see as far as the carryover potential moving forward?
Sure. So we, when we started modernization, when we first brought this to you at this point, 3 years ago, I believe, we created a timeline and we started with the license services application. And we started first with the Real ID requirements to link license services to every other state in the country. And we began working on a new license services system because our old system at this point is over 20 years old. Changing the license services system to a new updated modern programming language. One of the IT professionals told me that it's like translating French to English. A lot of things in common, but just going, but still having to modernize the programming language. Our next phase is the electronic titling and the titling system. We are scheduled to do that approximately a year from now. And then after that is the registration system. the IT guy explained that the registration system is like translating like antique Latin to English, that system is more antiquated and in a completely different language. How customers experience it is when you go to a customer service rep in a branch, they're accessing different systems for different pieces of the motor vehicle transaction, one for registrations, one for license. And on the back end, they're programmed in different antique languages that don't talk to each other. So our goal is to have everything in one system, but we're doing it in a modular way.
Will this improve the customer experience at the branch?
It will, and it will improve employee efficiency. It'll also, it helps keep our systems more modern. Again, we're working on systems that are at this point approaching, I mean, they're not end of life, they work fine, but they're, well, you're in IT. You know what it's like to work with a system that's 15 or 20 years old.
Okay. Representative Parrott?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On this carryover language, and I know we put a bunch of money in at the beginning, and then we've had this carryover language, and we've been told we're doing this and doing that, but where's the money going? I mean,
Well, you've
do we
seen it.
expect to see an audit at some point?
Oh, sure, we can
or a
provide that
list?
for the
I
work
mean,
session.
We just keep giving 2.5 million a year.
Yep.
And this is being done and that's being done. Well, is this being done and it costs 500,000? Or is this being done or
Sure,
if in-house programmers,
it's in-house
But
programmers.
but they're already employed, right? So are they contract employees or are they, how does that work? And
Yes,
I
so we
mean-
can provide that to you in the work session if you would
Okay.
like. And the answer to your question, with the modernization project, when I first came here 4 years ago, I think we brought you a study that said we could outsource this to a company and spend like 40 million, or we could insource it by hiring contract programmers just for modernization, but they would be co-located at the BMV for the duration of the project, which would be, 5
How-
to 8 years. So
so we've got 8 more years of 200.
not
2.5
5 to 8
million?
years from now. No. We're making really good progress. And when we say this has been done, the proof is in what you see in terms of the services that are being provided. Prior to a year ago, you couldn't, if somebody from Arizona came to Maine, we didn't have that state to state lookup on their license. So those things that we are doing are things that are actionable, they're concrete, and we can provide that list for you.
Okay, thanks.
Representative Fisher? You have a question?
Is this gonna help with the like the Real ID production as well for the flights and everything else? It's gonna help with the production of that?
So the Real ID itself is sourced by IDEMIA. I do think that we measure every transaction time. Like we keep track of how long a transaction takes per person, per customer service rep, per person, what our averages are. And we know that when you have to access different systems, you extend your transaction time. And then that has a multiplier effect in terms of wait time. So that piece of it, I think it'll make it more efficient in the long run. In the short run, obviously, people, when they're getting used to a new system, it takes a little bit longer at first, but then it's much better in the long run, if that makes sense. So I guess the short answer to your question was yes, it will help.
Are these new IT systems going to be proprietary, meaning we're not using an off-the-shelf base like Salesforce or something. It's all just coding and language.
Yes.
Okay. But the data will be in a format that's consumable in other systems.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, because we're linked to, for example, the NLET system.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Try some NyQuil.
Thank you.
I'm not going to stick around.
Thank you. Commissioner Dowd.
Okay.
Will I take one?
What?
Commissioner,
Good
good to see you
afternoon.
again.
Yes. Before I start, I'd just like to thank those that were able to come last Saturday. We greatly appreciate it. And I know others had commitments. But I know your thoughts were with us and we appreciate that very, very much. Senator Nagel, Representative Crafts, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Dale Dowdy. I'm the Commissioner of the Maine Department of Transportation. I'm here to introduce the portion of the governor's proposed supplemental budget that pertains to Maine DOT. In accordance with longstanding practice and the leave of the chairs, I would like to propose that a detailed line-by-line reading of Maine DOT specific initiatives be deferred to the work session. And part of that is because of the simplicity of those initiatives that we're placing forward and the highway fund neutrality of those initiatives. We've attached a detailed explanation and it's in the some say salmon, some say pink. I think we had this discussion last week. This should go through and give you some additional information if you want to go line by line so that you can pick out the sections you want to talk about. If you do want to talk about them today, both Catherine and I can do that as well. I've been in front of you several times already discussing the past, present, future funding for Maine DOT. We have discussed the complex and interconnected nature of our resources. That context will be apparent in a moment. You've heard from me articulate the necessity that we make assumptions about funding on at least a 3-year basis, but even longer. We do that with humility, and we do that fully understanding that the governor, this body, and Congress make the final decisions. We have covered concerning unstable landscapes surrounding future funding, and we've talked about the inclusive process by which we use those funds and apply them to projects through our work plan process. We've discussed transportation must be a long-term investment strategy, and the implication of delays surrounding asset management are significant. And here's a piece of context that's related to the supplemental budget, but not an initiative. In a late-breaking development related to our conversation on the volatility of both state and federal funding, revenue forecasting met on February 26, and they are proposing a decrease in projected auto-related sales tax beginning in FY27 and moving forward, and liquor revenues beginning in FY26 moving forward. In total, highway fund revenue is projected to be down 14 million during the biennium and 15.8 in the next biennium. As a result, in the near term, Governor Mills and my sibling agencies that you just presented to you will be looking for actions that we can take to mitigate that loss. That is not in the budget, but it is certainly context for your deliberations around what's going on with the supplemental budget. In light of those discussions, however, Maine DOT portion of the supplemental budget is relatively simple and highway fund neutral. Among all of our initiatives, almost all of our initiatives, we can put into 2 categories. First, position reorganizations, where positions have been evaluated to ensure that the responsibilities evolve, positions are reclassified correctly in the main salary schedule system. These reorganizations have been reviewed by the Bureau of Human Resources within the Department of Administrative and Financial Services. Maine DOT has shifted funding from all other expenditure category line where necessary to keep these initiatives neutral to the highway fund. That is, there's no additional highway fund allocation necessary to put these reorganizations into effect. The second category are position transfers. As Maine DOT makes internal programmatic changes, as federal government priorities change, as state priorities change, occasionally we submit budget initiatives to transfer positions between and among our programs to align the work with the appropriate program and funding. Instead of asking for new positions, we usually look internally, see if we can shift around. Similarly, these transfers were kept neutral with respect to the highway fund. Again, no highway fund dollars are necessary to make those transfers. The remainder of the initiatives reflect corrections in prior budgets, the need to increase spending for Industrial Drive. Industrial Drive is the facility that we have, I built a number of years ago, where our vehicles come in and are maintained. They're built. It also houses two other sister agencies. OIT, their information technology, has some people there, and Central Fleet was consolidated into that building. All those agencies pay into an internal service fund. The allocation in the budget doesn't ask for additional funding. It just asks for the authority for us to spend out of those revenues that go into that internal service fund. This supplemental budget also contains one language item, and I think we've discussed that before. Part E makes it clear that this Joint Standing Transportation Committee has jurisdiction over financial orders related to the highway fund, and also has the authority to waive the requirement that such financial orders be submitted to the Office of Fiscal and Program Review 30 days prior to becoming effective. And we talked about that a few weeks ago. Why that's important is, Department of Transportation, much like public safety, does a lot of public safety things. We have a hurricane, we have a large storm, we have a number of things that could occur at any one time. We have a federal government shutdown for 35 days. Sometimes, just to keep ourselves afloat, pay our contractors. We want to keep them healthy. Healthy contractors are healthy Maine. We have a good competitive contracting community. All of those things go into the equation of sometimes the department has to take some money out of maintenance and operations and move it over to some other emergency response. It might be fleet services, or we take money out of fleet services, move it over to our emergency response. This puts that jurisdiction squarely with you and allows you to waive that 30 days or not, depending on how you feel about it and depending on the situation. But that language squarely puts that with you. That concludes my testimony today. Any details you'd like to get into, Catherine's here with me today. We can go over whatever you'd like to.
Representative Krause?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here. I'm happy to personally to wait until the work session. You did mention the transfer of funds and that 30-day waiver. Is that the same process that the Appropriations Committee has with the general fund budget?
Yes, it's very similar to that. And there is and Catherine and I can talk about that next time. There is a piece missing in state law where that can't be waived I don't believe that can be waived for the highway fund at this moment.
So I would argue that
I
it's
know.
implicit,
Can you come up?
but this makes it explicit.
Explicitly, it can't be. So we kind of ran into a problem during the shutdown where explicitly we couldn't get that money moved quickly. We were able to do other internal transfers, so we didn't miss a payment. But if we'd gone into 45 days, 50 days, which kind of felt like it could happen at the moment, we would have been in some difficulty without that 30-day waiver.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Representative Parry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, thank you for being
You're
here.
welcome.
On that shortfall in projected revenue, are we going to end up getting a change package, or how's that going to work?
I'm not sure at this moment. This is, we learned about this, I think Tuesday in the afternoon, and weren't able to verify it until yesterday afternoon. So how that'll manifest itself, how it'll be worked through, there may be a variety of mechanisms that we're all looking for. Other revenue, is there some mitigating factors? Or are we going to actually have to adjust the program? So one of those things we will come back with. I'm not sure which one at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the commissioner? I have a question, and I mean, we can get into the details on the work session, but are there any new positions in this in your proposal?
There are no new positions. All of these positions are either being reclassified to something else. A big piece of this is our technician series. There's a portion of it in Part A and there's a portion in Part B. Those technicians for us are the jack of all trades. There are technicians all through the department. When you don't need an engineer, but you need somebody with some strong technical skills. Reclassification has been years in the works, went through COVID. And that's really modernizing those technicians, doing the kind of things that you might expect that you used to look through a theodolite, used to use a pop level for, but now we use electronic means. So it's just bringing so a lot of the initiatives are just bringing those positions up to modern standards and industry standards with outside. The other ones are just us moving a position from one location to another location, from one account to another account.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't want to see us get into a position where, because we're looking at those shortfalls, that we're now looking at cutting employees, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think the thing is, this department has for many years, many years since I've been in management here, and we've sat around the table, and every budget we've ever put together, we first look internally, right? And for a number of years, and we can bring it in during the work session, how we reduced our workforce. Some of that makes a lot of sense. It was going from sand to salt priority and technology, but we're getting to a place where we've done about all we can do, and we're struggling a bit being able to move positions quickly from the county to Southern Maine because they need a vacancy, and that position's held up with someone who's on long-term medical leave, for instance, or something else. The department has had that long history of those reductions, but it's getting to a place where those are becoming untenable. I think that's where we've hit that floor, at least in my view. And so we'll be talking about that in the future, but we'll bring that history and show you.
Any other questions for the commissioner?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. We're going to open this up to the public. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of any of these budget initiatives?
Good afternoon, Senator Nangle, Representative Crafts, and members of the Committee on Transportation. My name's Mark Brunton. I am president of the Maine Service Employees Association, Local 1989 of the Service Employees International Union. We are a labor union representing over 13,000 Maine workers, including workers at the Maine Department of Transportation. And you may recall that you had testimony from our members last week, and I've included some of their written testimony here today. First, we strongly support the many reorganizations that are proposed throughout the Highway Fund supplemental budget. However, we are disappointed that LD 2213 fails to make any progress in closing the state employee pay gap, which is the difference between what workers in Maine state government earn compared to their peers in the public and private sectors. This budget also fails to restore the 60 transportation worker jobs eliminated in the last biennial highway budget. We urge this committee to use some of the budget surplus to make the personal services budget whole and to restore those state worker positions that were eliminated in 2025. In the last highway fund budget, money was diverted away from the state's personal services budget and the salary plan, which pays the wages of state employees, and used to fund other priorities. This was done by raising the state employee attrition rate. Took approximately $12.3 million away from what our members could use to negotiate a fair contract and to lower the 25% vacancy rate for Maine DOT's highway crews. Maine DOT workers have been working with an expired contract for 9 months, and we are being told the state can't even afford to offer a cost of living adjustment, nonetheless offer competitive wages for state workers in and outside of Maine DOT. This raid on the salary plan in 2025 wasn't a one-time occurrence. Throughout the entirety of the Mills administration, the legislature has diverted money away from the salary plan under the veil of raising the attrition rate for state workers, as well as allocating funds from vacancy savings for capital improvements. The scheme of increasing the state employee attrition rate has worsened the recruitment and retention problem throughout Maine state government. Understaffing at DOT remains a serious problem, often with devastating consequences on both state workers and Maine people who rely on their services. Due to low pay, we have members working at DOT who rely on public assistance. The status quo needs to change. Understaffing at DOT due to low wages is costing our state and taxpayers an exorbitant amount of money. As MSDA member Jonathan French stated in his testimony on LD 2212, there are also quite a few names of consultants that I've recognized as former department employees, some who retired and some who just left for better compensation, but still plan to be actively working for decades to come. In the case of all of these former employees, companies are now taking advantage of their taxpayer-funded training and skills to profit from the taxpayer dollars funding Maine DOT projects. These consultants are being paid nearly double what our members are being paid while doing the same work. And the contractor companies are making up to 10% in taxpayer-funded profits. And I've included with my testimony a report that underlines that. The current model of underpaying state employees at DOT only to have to hire more expensive consultants is neither financially sustainable nor efficient use of taxpayer dollars. It also contributes to morale issues among state workers who see this trend worsening year after year. We feel strongly that more must be done to raise wages of state employees through state government, including at the DOT. Below, I have included compensation comparison data for Maine DOT workers compared to national averages for the same positions. I also have included data about the increased spending on consultants, as you can see from the graph. It has risen drastically in recent years. All of this data clearly illustrates that we need your support to make progress on closing the pay gap in LD 2213. Please restore the money that was taken from the salary plan when the attrition rate was increased. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Oh, Representative Perry.
Thank you. I don't know if this is a comment or a question, but I agree with you 100%. I wish we could get some of the budget surplus, but in this supplemental time between the general fund and the highway fund's getting none. So I totally agree with you on increasing the pay on workers. The issue is where the money is, and we have no additional money. So did you testify in front of AFA?
I did.
On that? Good.
Yes.
Good. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else who would like to testify in favor? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, well, we'll come back. Anybody here to testify in opposition? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to testify neither for nor against? Seeing none, we're just waiting for somebody to come on Zoom. Is it Miss Roy?
It is.
Okay.
He's not going to be able to make it, but thank you for trying. You do have a written testimony.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing. You're gonna bang this. Public hearing's closed.
Tuesday?
I think we have a language review. Okay. I'll entertain a motion. All those in favor?